What's going on, guys? It's Greg here, aka NYPrepper. It is Tuesday, June 4th, 2024, and I have some breaking news to share with you guys. Right now, it is 14:06 Eastern Time here in the United States, and we have some major breaking news coming in from Europe, the Middle East, and from Asia, as well as here in the United States. So last night, we had two U.S. nuclear bombers fly all the way from Britain to the Eastern Mediterranean right next to Lebanon. So, what you're looking at here are the flight paths of two U.S. B 52 Stratofortress nuclear bombers, and they flew all the way to Lebanon, and then they turned around and came back, and they actually got aerially refueled by two aerial refuelers that were dispatched from northwest Poland from the Powice Air Base. KC-46 Pegasus and a KC-135 flew down from Powice all the way to the Eastern Mediterranean to refuel these guys. So this is very, very unusual and very concerning. Here you can see the two aerial refuelers with the call signs Nacho 31 and Nacho 32 flying all the way down to the Eastern Mediterranean to meet these B-52s. So this is very, very concerning. I'm not sure exactly why they would suddenly send B-52s all the way to the Eastern Mediterranean, but it could have something to do with what happened yesterday, and I'm going to talk about that in a little bit. But Hezbollah launched a massive attack, a rocket attack on northern Israel, causing massive brush fires and wildfires. This update was sponsored by My Patriot Supply. Guys, My Patriot Supply has brought back their 25% discount on their 3-month emergency food supply. And to get the discount, you got to use the link preparewithnyprepper.com. And the link is in the description below this video. But this 3-month emergency food supply has a 25-year shelf life. It includes over 2,000 calories per day, breakfasts, lunches, dinners, drinks, and snacks, all contained within 6 rugged water-resistant buckets, and free shipping is included. So use the link preparewithnyprepper.com to get $200 off or 25% off of the My Patriot Supply 3-month emergency food supply. The link is in the description below this video. Free shipping is included. They also have a general store where they sell all kinds of prepping and survival products, and they're always running various discounts. And to get to their general store, you just got to click on the My Patriot Supply logo when you get to preparewithnyprepper.com at the top of the page, and you'll see their general store where they sell all kinds of prepping and survival products, and they're always running discounts here. So use the link preparewithnyprepper.com to get 25% off of the My Patriot Supply 3-month emergency food supply, and the link is in the description below this video. So now the Israeli leadership is meeting to determine if they want to invade Lebanon or not to eliminate Hezbollah. So this is very, very serious. I think it's related to that. We have some major breaking news coming in from the European theater. So apparently the embassies of a number of European countries in Moscow are conducting active discussions on the risks of Russia delivering retaliatory strikes within the framework of their nuclear war doctrine. Meetings are being held between ambassadors and military attaches of a number of countries at the Slovakian embassy in Russia. Some countries have received warnings through diplomatic channels about the risks of attacks on Russian military installations by Ukraine with NATO weapons. According to sources, Ukraine intends to attack additional sites of the Russian early warning system for nuclear war using Western weapons. Now, they've already taken down 2 of Russia's early warning radars in Russian territory, and then they took one down in Crimea, so they took down 3 already, and I guess they're considering taking down more. And so now you have all these European countries debating on the risk of Russia retaliating if they allow Ukraine to strike deeper into Russia. And Russia has already sent notes to all major European embassies in Moscow warning them of the risk of doing that and the punishment for that. Okay. Such an attack would be perceived by Russia as an attack on key elements of nuclear deterrence, and the response would be given in accordance with the Russian nuclear war doctrine. The Russian Foreign Ministry notified 14 countries, among them Canada, the Czech Republic, Slovakia, France, and Germany, of what would happen if Ukraine conducts deep strikes in Russia with Western weapons. The Russian Foreign Ministry also warned Sweden, Denmark, the Netherlands, Finland, and Japan. So this is very, very serious, guys, okay? And NATO is developing multiple land corridors to rush troops and armor to the front lines in the event of a major European ground war with Russia, according to the UK Telegraph. U.S. soldiers would land at one of 5 ports and be channeled along pre-planned logistical routes to confront a possible attack by Moscow. So here you can see a map showing these routes. There's one that goes through Germany into eastern Poland. There's one that goes from Norway through Sweden and into Finland. There's one from northern Italy that goes through Hungary into western Ukraine. And then there's 2 that go through Bulgaria and Romania into western Ukraine. So this is very serious, guys. If NATO is developing this now or practicing it or ironing it out, it's a huge sign that something big is going to go down. And we also have some breaking news that the British Navy is going to be strengthening its presence in the Baltic Sea. The countries of NATO's Joint Expeditionary Force, led by the UK, will conduct exercises to protect maritime infrastructure in the Baltic Sea. The alliance includes the Baltic and Scandinavian countries, as well as the Netherlands and the UK. At the same time, NATO exercises Balt Ops will be held in the region. The first U.S. Navy ships are already arriving in the Baltic Sea. So massive buildup of NATO forces in the Baltic Sea. They're going to be doing exercises there. And from June 19th to June 27th, the French Ministry of Defense plans to conduct a high-intensity exercise of its Air Force and Navy under the code name Ocean Hit 24 off the northwest coast of France. Okay, so here we have a picture showing some of these sectors here that will be part of this exercise. And interestingly, this is the area where France keeps their nuclear armed subs. Okay, near the city of Brest in France is where the Isle Long is located, and that's where France has 4 of their Triumphant class nuclear armed submarines, which are very formidable. We had a lot of NATO reconnaissance last night over Eastern Europe. We had 2 reconnaissance planes over Poland and the Baltic Sea, an Italian AWACS plane and a French reconnaissance plane over Poland and the Baltic Sea. And then we had a Swedish reconnaissance plane in Finland. Here's a closer look. You can see this Swedish recon plane doing a lot of loops in northern Finland near the Kola Peninsula. And then here we have the Italian AWACS plane. What's interesting about this one was that it was actually focusing a lot of its energy on Kaliningrad and not so much on Belarus. So something must be brewing over here. And then here we have the French reconnaissance plane. It was looping over the Baltic Sea, and then it was looping over north central Poland. We had 2 U.S. Navy VIP planes fly into Lithuania last night. So this is a huge sign that something is about to go down when the U.S. Navy sends VIPs into an area, and they've been shuttling a lot of U.S. VIPs into the Baltics the last few weeks, okay? And then at the same time, we had another Russian VIP plane fly to Minsk. Yesterday, there were two that flew from Moscow to Minsk, and then last night, another one. So something's brewing over here in Belarus. We know that Putin recently visited Lukashenko in Minsk. We know that the Russian Minister of Defense and the Belarusian Minister of Defense had meetings here. So something is brewing. And then this was yesterday, okay? So 2 nights ago. Look at all this reconnaissance in Poland, Lithuania, the Baltic Sea. I mean, this is just insane. And here were the two Russian VIP planes or doomsday planes that flew to Minsk 2 days ago. And then we also had this British Eurofighter Typhoon fighter jet, which is nuclear capable, fly to within just a few miles of the Ukrainian border, probably practicing a nuclear strike on Russian forces. And here we have some new video footage that came out showing one of the Russian S-400 missile defense batteries that was taken out by Ukrainian ATACMS. So Ukraine used American missiles to take out a Russian air defense, a top-notch Russian air defense. This is their famous S-400 missile system that got annihilated by American weapons, okay? So Russia's definitely not going to be happy about that. And this was somewhere in the Belgorod Oblast. At least several launcher vehicles and some command vehicles were taken out. So much of the battery was taken out in this strike. And I want to update you guys on the situation in Israel because things are escalating over there. The Israeli Prime Minister's office said Netanyahu conducted an assessment of the situation in northern Israel with Hezbollah with the heads of the security branches. Okay, so very concerning. And the Israeli War Cabinet met earlier today, and word is coming out of the meeting indicating more trouble. According to two separate sources, the War Cabinet discussed going to full-scale war against Hezbollah. The sources would not divulge the consensus. The sources would also not say whether any decision was or was not made. Whatever went on in that meeting is for the time being hush-hush, okay? So Netanyahu meeting with his war cabinet and then also meeting with heads of security branches. And here we have a picture of some of these brush fires that were started by the massive rocket attack by Hezbollah yesterday. Okay, here's some video footage. Absolutely insane. As many as 32 Israeli fire departments had to respond to put these fires out. I mean, it's just absolutely insane. So Netanyahu is probably really pissed off. And for the month of May, Hezbollah launched a record number of rocket attacks on Israel since the beginning of the war in Gaza. Okay, so Hezbollah is really increasing their attacks. Okay. The Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, the FDIC, has warned that 63 banks are vulnerable to failure due to $517 billion in unrealized losses. So that's not a good sign. We have 63 banks with $500 billion in losses that are unrealized, so they could be on the verge of collapse. And the Israeli Prime Minister's office said no date was set for Netanyahu's speech to Congress and stresses it won't take place on the 13th because of the Jewish holiday of Shavuot. Okay, so there was a lot of speculation that Netanyahu was going to speak to Congress on the 13th. Looks like it's not going to happen on the 13th, but he's definitely going to speak to Congress. He was invited and he did accept the invitation. The question is, when will he speak? And the Houthis claim to have conducted a successful strike with a ballistic missile on a strategic target in the port city of Eilat in southern Israel. Okay, so that is not good at all. And this comes just 2 or 3 days after the Houthis launched half a dozen missile attacks on ships in the Red Sea, including a U.S. aircraft carrier and a U.S. destroyer, forcing the aircraft carrier to move 1,100 kilometers away from Yemen in a 48-hour period, which is insane. Okay, so for all we know, something could have happened to that aircraft carrier in those attacks, and they suddenly had to retreat 1,100 kilometers. Okay, that is insane. And the commander of the Iranian Army's Air Defense Force announced that Iran will soon unveil a new generation of long-range defense systems. And Netanyahu said that Israel did not agree to stop the war, but they would approve a temporary ceasefire for the release of hostages. And Bashar al-Assad's wife, the first lady of Syria, has died. That's pretty weird. And in Finland, a nuclear power plant has been shut down due to a turbine malfunction. This is the Olkiluoto 3 nuclear power plant. The energy has been shut down after the incident, so it's no longer producing power. And the Olkiluoto nuclear power plant is located in western Finland on the coast of the Gulf of Bothnia at the Baltic Sea. And Ukraine and Russia expanded the battlefield to the Middle East, as it was reported that Ukrainian special forces are now operating in northern Israel in the Golan Heights. This was reported by the senior fellow of the Washington Institute for Near East Policy, Anna Borsch. Okay, so Ukraine sending their special forces to northern Israel. Very interesting. We know that Russia has troops right on the border of Israel in Syria near the Golan Heights, and several kabooms were heard in the city of Dnipropetrovsk in eastern Ukraine in the early hours of June 4th, according to Suspilne, a Ukrainian public broadcaster. And another Polish soldier was seriously injured on the border of Belarus after a migrant in Belarus threw a large tree branch through slits in the border fence at the soldier and hit him in the head. Last week, a migrant tied a knife to a branch and hurled it at a soldier, which caused the soldier to be seriously injured. So tensions at the border between Poland and Belarus, as Belarus sends these vicious migrants to the border of Poland to try to cause chaos and trouble for Poland. And the U.S. State Department put out a travel warning for Mexico due to the assassination of a high-ranking law enforcement official in San Luis Rio, Colorado. At this time, there has been no further violence, but there is potential for further confrontations to arise from the incident. So some kind of high-ranking Mexican law enforcement official was assassinated. And the South Korean Cabinet of Ministers have approved the full suspension of the 2018 Inter-Korean Tension Reduction Pact. Since the agreement has been suspended, South Korea can now restart loudspeaker propaganda against North Korea and also resume military training near the DMZ. So, very serious, guys. South Korea has withdrawn from the 2018 treaty that they signed with North Korea. And I want to just share with you guys a list of some of the major treaties that have been canceled just in the last 2 or 3 years. So Poland, Belarus, the US, and Russia all pulled out of the Conventional Forces Europe Treaty, which now allows these countries to mass an unlimited amount of conventional military equipment and troops on their borders with each other in the European theater. And Putin pulled out of the START II treaty, allowing Russia and the U.S. to now stockpile massive amounts of various types of nuclear weapons and deploy them unrestricted. So now we have South Korea pulling out of their treaty with North Korea. And North Korea says that from the night of May 28th to June 2nd, the country scattered 15 tons of toilet paper over its border with South Korea, which it says was carried out using over 3,500 balloons of various sorts. Now, South Korea reported only 900 balloons, but North Korea saying 3,500 balloons full of feces. The statement went on to say that the country will not send any more garbage-laden balloons over its border with South Korea, but that if South Korea continues to scatter anti-North Korean leaflets, North Korea will respond with 100 times the amount of scattered leaflets, okay? So they're going to send in thousands and thousands of balloons full of feces to South Korea. And 42 Chinese military aircraft were spotted around Taiwan last night. And Japan reported airspace violations in multiple instances by the Chinese military, one of which was in the Sea of Okhotsk and East China Sea, after which it scrambled fighter jets. According to Taiwan's Ministry of Defense, 42 Chinese military aircraft, 8 Chinese Navy vessels, and 4 Chinese Coast Guard vessels were spotted operating around Taiwan on June the 4th. Okay, so this is crazy, guys. Japan reported airspace violations in the Sea of Okhotsk and East China Sea, forcing them to scramble fighter jets. And the Taiwan military will conduct a series of live fire drills along its coast and at the defense outpost of Matsu this month, simulating the repulsion of amphibious and naval attacks from the Chinese army. And a major Chinese maritime militia rotation is underway with 32 large Qiang ships, which have left Hainan Island in the past 48 hours en route to various South China Sea locations. This is the professional militia fleet commonly involved in hostilities against the Philippines Coast Guard. And what you're looking at here is a screenshot from a vessel tracker showing some of these Chinese maritime militia ships heading to the South China Sea. You can see the Paracel Islands here. So we could see some renewed provocations against the Philippines by China. And Andrew Napolitano, the former Fox News contributor, and Scott Ritter were on their way to Russia when they were removed from their plane and had their passports taken. When asked why, they said it was due to orders from the State Department and no further information was provided. Scott Ritter said, "My bags were removed from the flight and I was escorted out of the airport." And they were going to speak at some kind of annual economic forum in St. Petersburg. So this is huge news, guys. Okay, maybe Scott Ritter's going to go back to jail again. And there was an earthquake swarm in Japan yesterday, and a 6.2 magnitude earthquake occurred over the weekend. Let me play this for you. So here we have a video showing this earthquake, 6.2 magnitude, and over 50 earthquakes in just like a 24-hour period in Japan. So we have to keep an eye on this area for more earthquakes. You guys may remember the monster earthquake in 2011. It was like a 9 point something. I forget exactly, but that was insane. The massive tsunamis that resulted from that earthquake, that could happen again, guys. And I believe that that's biblical. That big earthquake in 2011 was biblical. Same thing with the big earthquake in Haiti. There were actually like 2 big earthquakes in Haiti. I believe those are biblical as well. And we also have massive flooding in Germany and Switzerland. The Rhine River is experiencing massive flooding. Here you can see a picture of that. So that's the latest breaking news that I have for now. I will be back later on tonight with more breaking news. I may go live, so make sure you're subscribed. Hit the bell icon down below so you get notified when I post these updates. Follow me on Telegram and Twitter. I post all my updates there. So if you follow me there, you'll never miss an update. And until later on, take care, God bless, and don't forget the 3 Ps. Prepare, practice, and persevere. Culinary out.